Welcome to the Not Old Better Show, the show covering all things health, wellness, culture, and more. The show for all of us who aren't old, we're better. Each week, we'll interview superstars, experts, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, all related to this wonderful experience of getting better, not older. Now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Welcome to a special episode of the Not Old Better Show, sponsored by MD Hearing and Prolon. Today we dive into an action comedy film that is so poignant and touching, it is taking audiences by storm. The name of the film, Thelma. This feature film directorial debut from our guest today, Josh Margolin, showcases the incredible talents of veteran Oscar nominee June Squibb in her first leading role, and the legendary Richard Roundtree in his final performance. Thelma is not just a film, it's a celebration of resilience, aging, humor, and the unyielding spirit of the elderly. Thelma opens worldwide on June 21st. In Thelma, June Squibb brings to life a feisty 93-year-old grandmother, Thelma Post, who finds herself the victim of a phone scammer pretending to be her grandson, played by Fred Hechinger. Refusing to be seen as helpless, Thelma embarks on a treacherous quest across Los Angeles to reclaim her stolen $10,000. I laugh because this journey that she is on is hilariously action-packed, and it's so heartwarming too. She enlists the help of her old friend, Ben, portrayed by the aforementioned iconic Richard Roundtree, and together they navigate the city on a motorized scooter, facing obstacles that would challenge even the likes of Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible. This film, inspired by a real-life incident involving Josh Margolin's own grandmother, cleverly adapts action tropes to highlight the strength and agency of its elderly protagonists. You'll see Josh Margolin's script resonate with infectious humor, and it's such a touching narrative, earning rave reviews at this year's Sundance Film Festival for its fresh take on familiar genres and its very sensitive portrayal of aging. All of us in the Not Old Better Show audience are just going to love this film, Thelma. June Squibb is known for an early career as a dancer and singer. June Squibb embraced the physicality of this role in Thelma, performing most of her own stunts, including a high-speed scooter chase. And we're going to talk to Josh Margolin about that. And rolling across beds with a gun in hand, all while channeling the fierce determination of her character. Her connection to Thelma's sense of justice is deeply personal, shaped by her lifelong ethos of right and wrong and her late husband's belief that she could have made an excellent cop. The chemistry between Squibb and Richard Roundtree is palpable, bringing to life a story filled with laughter, grit, and a profound sense of companionship. Margolin's casting choice was driven by Squibb's perfect blend of strength and vulnerability. You'll hear Josh talk about that. But Josh also mentions June Squibb's humor and understatement, qualities that mirror his own grandmother's indomitable spirit. As we explore this extraordinary film, we also ponder the possibilities of a sequel. After all, every great action hero deserves a franchise. Join us as we delve into the making of Thelma, the remarkable performances of its cast, and the directorial debut of our guest today, Josh Margolin, his inspiring messages, all of which convey aging with dignity and determination. Josh Margolin, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm just smiling ear to ear. I loved this movie, Thelma, of yours. It's so sweet. It's a powerful film, I think, for my age group and my audience. But I got to tell you right out of the gate, I love the movie poster, the needlepoint effect.
Oh, thank you. They did an amazing job with the poster. I'm so thrilled with it. I'm glad we could get the needlepoint action mask in there.
Yeah. Very unique and special for our audience that's on the radio. We'll put links to the film and to Josh Margolin's work. Everybody can see this beautiful poster that's done in needlepoint. Well, Josh, again, congrats on this film. It relates to me particularly. My own mother had this scam happen to her. I know this was something that happened to you and your grandmother particularly. Maybe give us a little bit of the backstory there and maybe tell us, has your own grandmother seen the movie?
She has seen the movie, which I'm very, very grateful that she has. She's 103. She's living with me.
Congrats.
she's amazing. I was very, very happy she got to see it. The movie's based on a real life scam incident that's pretty much almost exactly the scam in the film. She got a call. Someone was pretending to be me, saying they'd been in a car accident. They hit someone. They were pregnant. All of those talking points. And luckily in real life, we were able to step in before the money actually exchanged hands. But it got me thinking and imagining, well, what if she had sent it? And what if she had set out to get it back? Which I feel like she may very well have done. And that was sort of the impetus for writing it. And it sort of became an excuse to this ode to her grit and her tenacity and her strength. And so it was kind of off to the races from there.
Yeah, I love that note of grit and tenacity because it just comes through loud and clear. As we get a little bit older, particularly those of us in my age group, we might be faced with some challenges that we might think we might not be able to overcome. And so I'm curious about the conversations that you had with June Squibb, the star, really the 94-year-old star, and with Richard Roundtree, God rest his soul, about the film initially, because an action film, a 94-year-old, maybe the two might not necessarily go together in some conversations, but they do so well here. How did you convince them to take this on with such real verve?
Well, I think what was really nice was they both really responded to it, which I think was part of why it happened the way it did. I think June saw a lot of herself in the character. June, having gotten to know her, and she's unbelievable. She has so much grit and so much tenacity. There's a lot of her in the character. I don't think it's no coincidence that she plays the role. So I think what was nice is that with her, I don't think I had to sell her on the combination. I think she connected to it on the page, which was, again, a huge gift for me, because then I could just talk to her about what we were thinking and how we kind of wanted to put it together. And hopefully I seemed like a semi-trustworthy figure, and she took the lead. And similarly with Richard, I had a Zoom with him, and like 5 seconds into the Zoom, I was just taken. He was so charming and warm and funny, and also really wanted to do it. I think he was excited to just play against type a little bit, show a softer side of himself, just do something different. So I got that feeling from both of them. And I think oftentimes when a partnership like that works, it's because you're both coming to it with some level of both excitement, but also just kind of swimming in the same direction, seeing it somewhat similarly, even if not completely, that there's whatever the heart of it is, whatever that nugget is, you're both responding to. And I was lucky with both of them that I think they saw themselves in it in some way, or found something funny or interesting about it and jumped on board, which I was very grateful for.
I saw something, and congratulations to you for seeing that, for them to really put forth this beautiful film. The response, the reviews are just out of the park. Again, congrats, Sundance. I saw one headline that I thought was great. It said it's a rollicking good time. I love that word.
I like that. I like that too.
Yeah. And so it really is this action thriller with a comedic edge. How did you work to blend those two, especially kind of given this subject with kind of an older age element to it?
Yeah, that was always the challenge of it. And also what excited me the most about it was trying to find a way for those two elements of the movie to feed each other, to not feel like we're gear shifting between these two different movies, but to let the family's anxiety about Thelma turn into tension in our actions, to let those things flow into each other and give each other juice. And so to me, it was all about starting the movie as grounded and human and realistic as possible, and then little by little ratcheting up as we get to know the characters and get to understand what makes her tick. I think once we understand her and she makes this decision to go do this thing, to go get her money back, I feel like we're able to go on that ride with her more willingly and inch our way closer and closer to those action trope and that genre territory. But for me, it was always about playing it straight too, which I think everybody in the cast did really beautifully and had a similar instinct for, was just to take it seriously. Yeah. Yes, going up the stairs is not necessarily something you will see in a $100 million action movie. But for us and for June, the stakes of that are high and we want to treat it as such. I think leaning into that reality and being sensitive to that and letting that guide us was sort of the way in which we navigated it.
Technology plays a role in our lives in such a huge manner. And so you brought that into this too. And again, I thought that was fascinating to see, because I watched as my own mom, who's 94, deal with, just all of the technology that we're around. And so there's this real, very powerful social commentary that I wonder if you touch on just briefly and just say, what drove you to put that message in there? Because that, I think, speaks to all of us who have come across this in our lives.
It's really so woven into the fabric of my grandma's life, and me watching her as someone who's lived through all these changes, reckoning with the speed of progress and the tech that has become increasingly available. And to me, it's it truly is a double-edged sword. Certain things have made her life easier. Her hearing aids, the ability to speak directly into her phone and have that go into the hearing aids at a busy dinner so she can hear us. There are these ways in which these tools have helped her, and there are these ways in which these tools have created stress or confusion or or the like. Instagram's a good example where she has an Instagram. She, I think, loves seeing pictures of family on it. She gets joy out of scrolling, but also she gets sometimes a little lost in that and ends up on weird scroll. Like, it truly is both things for her, I think. There are these ways in which it's helpful and these ways in which it's a hindrance. And I wanted that to be in the DNA of the movie. I also like the idea of her taking these things that sometimes create strife for her or frustration and letting her get the upper hand on them in some way or use them to her advantage in the movie. The things that are her obstacles also become her tools. And I just wanted that interconnectivity to be present in there because I just see her interacting with those in life. And it's a journey. Sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it's confusing and tough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. For me and absolutely for my family and kind of supporting my mom, too. And so it was just a beautiful film. I read that you said aging can be a heroic act. I love that. And I think that's so true for our audience. How did you make the physical challenges that the actors faced come alive? And in particular, the scooter, which really represents this tremendous element of mobility for our population, really is such a key element and could be very comedic of itself, but it has a real action element to it.
I'm glad to hear that. For me, it just comes back to the feeling of wanting to treat everything sincerely, wanting to treat the action, wanting to make sure we take everything seriously and that we never feel like we're winking too hard or punching down or poking fun. The hope is that it's funny and fun, but also engaging and suspenseful in its own right. To me, it was always just about taking some of those bigger tropes and shrinking them down, but really using those same tools and trying to lean into the inherent stakes of moving through the world at 94, at 85, and the things that become obstacles, the things that become challenges, and letting those feel real and not feel like punchlines. I think it was a tonal balance throughout the process, and then also trying to shoot it like an action movie and just make sure we don't overdo the intensity of those tropes so that we felt like we were parroting, trying to slow them down a little bit, but use similar camera moves and keep some propulsion in there that felt appropriate to the scope and scale of the movie.
Yeah, a lot of comparisons to Mission Impossible type film. And so I've seen that in a lot of places, and you must be pleased with that and know that you pulled it off.
Well, it's been really heartening to see people responding to it so well. It's really cool. Sundance was such an amazing experience and felt like a real Band-Aid rip for us of being like, okay, let's just start getting it out there. And they were so wonderful and supportive of the movie. And it was such a great kickoff to us getting it out beyond our smaller circles. And it's just been really heartening and really, really cool to have people respond to it well.
Hey, it's Paul. I mentioned that today's sponsor is MD Hearing Aid, and I want to talk to you personally for a moment. My mom has been struggling. Her hearing loss was detrimental to her daily life and conversations with family and friends, but everything changed when I bought her MD Hearing. People close to her noticed her dramatically improved hearing, and she couldn't stop thanking me. Pretty awesome for a son. This podcast is proudly sponsored by MD Hearing. MD Hearing offers an FDA-registered rechargeable hearing aid that costs pennies on the dollar compared to typical hearing aids. Their Neo model fits discreetly inside your ear. No fuss, no hassle. My mom loves her MD hearing aids. So confidently join the 1.5 million others enjoying MD hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial and 100% money-back guarantee. Get the hearing aid you deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com and use promo code NOB to get their new $297 when you buy a pair offer. Plus, they are adding a free extra charging case at $100 value just for listeners of the Not Old Better Show. That's shopmdhearing.com and use our promo code NOB to get their new $297 when you buy a pair offer. Thanks, everybody. Hi, it's Paul. I mentioned that today's episode is brought to you by Prolon. I have been using my new Prolon box for 5 days, and I'll tell you, the results have been amazing. Have you heard about the benefits of fasting, like enhanced weight loss, boosted mental and physical performance, and improved gut health? but maybe you can't stand the idea of not eating. Well, that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon isn't just a diet. It is revolutionary. It's plant-based. And so it offers you a nutrition program that nourishes your body while your cells believe they're fasting. It's developed over decades at the University of Southern California's Longevity Institute and supported by top U.S. medical centers. And there's something special for you, our listeners of the Not Old Better Show. Right now, Prolon is offering an exclusive 10% discount on their 5-day nutrition program. Just visit prolonlife.com/NB to get started. All this will be in our show notes. But trust me, with Prolon, you're not just dieting. You are revolutionizing the way you think about food and fasting. It's not a diet, it's science. Fasting, but with food. Try it. Prolon. Check out our notes today. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, again, I loved it. Josh Margolin's our guest, filmmaker and actor. Beautiful new film, Thelma, going to open up on the 21st. So I know our audience is going to be excited about it. I think one of the things that's just jumped out at me too, Josh, is this idea of family, multi-generational family and resilience, and this idea of autonomy. Certainly, June Squibb's character, Thelma, wants to be autonomous. She wants to be resilient, but she has the support of her grandson, which was lovely. At the core of the movie, to me, that's just fundamental. You just really nailed that. You must have pulled a little bit from your own family in terms of getting that right.
Definitely. Yeah, it was, certain dynamics are definitely turned up for the sake of the structure of the movie, but I would say a lot of it is definitely very, very much pulled from real life and real feelings and real concerns. And the Thelma character really is, it's not the whole picture of my grandma, but it is a very true element of her and a very real facet of her character. And the same with the Daniel character for me. It's like those anxieties, those worries, that debate of how can I keep this person safe, but also trust them to do their thing and strike that balance is something I think about a lot and is often on my mind. So I tried to keep it as close to, those real feelings and those real wonders as possible.
I think after COVID, we certainly saw what was left over for an awful lot of us, this idea of isolation. And Thelma and Ben have this real friendship that is very authentic and trusting, the companionship. We need that today. And you really brought that out too.
Oh, well, thank you. They were both so wonderful. And they also really liked each other in real life. So it was nice. Same with Fred and June. That triangle all so organically took to each other, which I think comes through. They were both so wonderful. And that friendship is such a central piece of her journey and in allowing her to accept a little bit of help along the way, even if she's resistant to it at first.
We hear an awful lot about diversity in Hollywood. And while this film isn't necessarily an aging film, it's very pointed and you've got some real diversity amongst the cast. And so I would imagine that that's a very important subject for you too, this idea of aging and diversity and cast members and bringing that forward.
Anytime you can have people on screen who are not always on screen, it's a good thing. And it's an important thing. And I think having older, in this movie in particular, just having older actors at the helm, even, with Richard and June is its own form of that, and wanting to center them and be sensitive to the things they're facing. And also, just let them, so much of the movie too, it's like, I wanted it to be a movie that, yes, is starring these older actors, quote unquote, but is not only a movie that their story, I wanted to feel universal. Like I like to say it's a movie about aging almost more than it's a movie about old age, because theirs is the heart of it. But Daniel's also going through his kind of transitional moment. The parents are going through their own transitional moment. Everybody is, I guess, aging all the time. There's some through line there and some connectivity that was important to me, and just how we handled all of that and wanting it to feel inclusive and wanting it to feel like there were a lot of entry points for people watching.
Working with Richard Roundtree for his final film, along with June Squibb, must have been such a powerful thing for you to be doing, especially now looking back. What other memorable moments do you have from the film's production that you can share with us that maybe didn't make the cut?
Yeah, Richard was really wonderful to work with, warm and funny and kind, and everybody loved him. Whenever I'd give him a note or give him a thought, he would stare at me for a long time, kind of as if he wasn't getting it. And I'd be like, oh my God, am I not saying this right? Or wait, what's happening? And then he would just smile and go he'd say, watch this. And then he'd turn around and do it. So he just had this really funny, warm, lovely spirit. I think we all just loved working with the guy and miss him, but feel very honored to have gotten to work with him and spend time with him on the movie.
Well, Josh, congrats again on this wonderful film. The name of the movie is Thelma. It's out on the 21st. Great story. important, powerful elements about positive aging. I want to encourage our audience to check this movie out when they get a chance. And Josh, thank you for your time. Again, congrats. Hope all of the screenings go well and your busy day unfolds positively for you. But we really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Paul. Really pleasure talking to you. And yeah, really appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Always.
My thanks to Josh Margolin for his time today. Just such a wonderful film. Thelma, being released June 21st. Please check it out. My thanks, of course, to you, our audience here on radio and podcast. My thanks to our sponsors, Prolon and MD Hearing. Please support our sponsors as they support the show. My thanks always to our executive producer, Sam Hechinger. Sam does a great job with all of our sound and everything else. My thanks, of course, to everybody who's paying attention to this program. Remember, Thelma the movie out June 21st. Just this wonderful action comedy. Must see. And June Squibb is fantastic, as is Richard Roundtree. Check it out. You'll enjoy this. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Not Old Better Show. To find out more about all of today's stories or to view our extensive back catalog of previous shows, simply visit notold-better.com. Join us again next time as we deep dive into some of the most fascinating real-life stories from across the world, all focused on this wonderful experience of getting better, not just older. Let's talk about better. The Not Old Better Show.
Hi, one final thing. Please check out our website for this episode and all episodes at notold-better.com, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and be sure to check out your local radio stations to find out more about the Not Old Better Show on podcast and radio. You can find us all over social media. Our Twitter feed is Not Old Better, and we're on Instagram at Not Old Better too. The Not Old Better Show is a production of NOBS Studios. I'm Paul Vogelsang, and I hope you'll join me again next time to talk about better. The Not Old Better Show. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.